Hello, it's Brian. I've been trying to make this video for quite some time, and it's not, I haven't been able to do it. I've tried several times, and I don't know how to, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it, and I don't know in what order I should say it. So I'm just going to do it, and it turns out however it turns out. So where do I start? Okay, the current situation is that I don't have a job, I don't have a career, and I don't really care. The beginning of the end was the loss of my public service job, the job that I was the best at, the job that where I was the most satisfied, and I blew it. And as friends are very quick to point out, there were elements of that were beyond my control. People in charge made decisions that I didn't have anything to do with, and that had a big impact on my life and career. And that is true, but that I don't want to downplay my own role in my own demise. I made mistakes, and I was swiftly punished for them. So, yeah, there were some things that were outside of my control, but there were a few things that were in my control. Would it have made a difference in the outcome? I don't know, maybe not. But I still could have avoided making the mistakes. I still could have, not had, contributed to the outcome. So, yeah, I take responsibility for what I did. I don't take responsibility for what other people did, but that's not the whole story. Everybody has things that happen to them that are outside of their control. That's not unusual. That's normal. But then everybody has some things that are within their control as well. And one thing that you can usually count on is that if there is a decision to be made that is within my control, whatever decision I make will be the wrong one. That's a long pattern. So, yeah, I screwed up, and here I am. Public service was the best fit for me because I went into the legal field to help people. That was the idea. That was the original concept. That's what I wanted to do with my life. And that's another thing that's not unusual, because really, if you ask most people why they go into the legal field, most will probably tell you is because they want to help people. Now, some may be blunt and say that are doing it for the money. And there's plenty of money in it, so that's certainly a valid reason to do it, I suppose. But I knew that I wasn't going to end up at a top firm making a lot of money. My goal was always to find the place where I was the most useful, where I was the most helpful to the most people, and to do that. And to hopefully make a living at it so that I could continue to do it. And for a while I did that. For several years I did that. And it was good. It was good. And I was good at it. There aren't many things that I'll admit that I was good at, but I was good at it. I gained enough experience that I did pretty well. And I helped a lot of people. I can admit that too. But if, commitment, dedication, passion, and skill are not enough to keep a person in that position, then I don't have anything else. That's all I got. And if that's not enough, then there is just no other possible outcome. The, After that, I went into the private sector for a while, made a good amount of money in the private sector, um, and was pretty thoroughly miserable there, and got away from it. I'm out of that. That was bad. I um, I was in the hospital for about a week in July, um, because I was really bad, and the hospital was the only place I could go where I could be safe. Um, that's plays into part of the story, but I had to get away, and I did. And since I made a good chunk of money, I was able to save a fair amount, enough that I can live for a little while. And so that's a good thing. But I couldn't stay there. It was destroying me, and I really would not have made it much longer. So I'm out of that, and I don't have anything right now, and I don't even know what direction to go in. I don't have any direction. Could I go into public service again, where I was the most happy, where I did the most good? I don't know. I know from experience how much commitment, dedication, sometimes personal sacrifice it takes to do that kind of work, and I don't think I have that. I don't think I have that. I used to, but right now I just have nothing. I don't have anything in the tank. I don't have any direction, which is unusual for me because I mean, for most of my adult life, I've had a direction. I may not have known exactly, every stop I was going to take, but I knew where I was going. And, I got there. I mean, it took me a long time because I was working, full time, and I had a family and I had responsibilities. I had to get my education in the middle of all that. And it took a long time. And I had to stay focused on the goal. Otherwise, I would be derailed. But I made it. I did. I chose a direction and I kept moving in that direction till I got to where I intended to be. But right now, I don't have any direction. There's nowhere to go. I is the idea of working in the legal field right now is very unattractive. I'm kind of down on the whole profession at the moment. Um, like that, I mean, I have no idea what I would do instead, but working in the legal field right now just sounds awful. And I've done it. I've done lots of things, and I've done it for a number of years, and I got to where I was, I think, pretty good at it. But I don't think I have that right now. I don't have that in me. And I can't do it, just to draw a paycheck. If I could do it just to draw a paycheck, then I would have stayed in the public sector. That's not worth it. So there's nothing, I just don't think there's anything there for me anymore. And that's a difficult thing to say because I worked for so long and worked so hard to get there, only to find myself hating being there. So that's where I am in regards to career. I don't have one. And I don't know that I will have one. And I don't know that I care. I don't think that it matters. Nothing really matters. But I have some money. I have some funds saved up. It's enough to last for a while. But other than that, I don't know what to do. friends, I've talked to a few friends and I've gotten some advice, and friends mean really well. And I have to acknowledge and appreciate that people care enough to try to help, even if their suggestions don't help that much. At least they try, and I have to acknowledge that and appreciate that. It does matter to me that people care enough to try to help. But honestly, most of the suggestions are not realistic. I if I had the energy to do the things that were suggested, I probably wouldn't need the suggestion, because I would have the energy to figure that out myself. At the moment, though, like, I have a hard time doing anything, and I mean anything. Like, for instance, today I had to make a phone call, and I had to drive to a supermarket to pick up groceries, not to even to go inside, but just to park, to open my trunk and let somebody put the groceries in my trunk. And those activities were exhausting. It took a lot out of me just to do those simple things. Walking out of my front door triggers a panic cycle. I have to force myself to walk from my door to my car, to get in the car, to start the car. I have to, gasp for air, to force myself to do the basic things that I have to do to even survive, to get food. So, yeah, the idea that all I have to do is call this place and talk to this person, or apply here, or do this or do that. Those would be great things. I don't have any of that right now. That's something that I would have to work up to, and I'm not there right now. Which makes the next fact a bit ironic, and the thought of it kind of makes me panic a bit. Several friends suggested that I take a trip to get away for a while, to do something, to just get out. And after several people making the same suggestion, I thought, that I probably should. I should take a trip. So I booked some hotels, and I booked some tickets to some things that I'm going to do. And I did it intentionally in a way that I can't really back out of it. I can't cancel, so I kind of have to do it. And the reason I did that is because I knew if I thought about it too much that I wouldn't do it. But now, next week, I've got to take a trip, and the thought of it is panic-inducing. But if I don't do it, then I may never be able to do these things again. So I've got, I call it a brief tour of the U.S. Northeast, culminating in a stay in the Boston area to attend a Patriots game in Foxborough. I have not been there since 2005. And they've built up that area a lot more since then. It's very different than when I went there. So, yeah, that's going to happen. It kind of has to happen now. I had to take a chunk of the funds that I saved to keep myself alive for a few months in order to do it. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it was either do that or just stay here. And honestly, right now, I'd kind of rather stay here. But if I don't go, I probably won't be able to again. But do I look forward to going? Do I get any joy out of going? any excitement, any satisfaction. I don't think so. It's more about just ticking some boxes, going to some places that I've been before, but last time I was there, I wasn't able to do some of the things that I wanted to do. I didn't have the time. This time, I will have the time. Going to a couple places that I haven't been before, but that have been on my list for a while. So I'll tick those boxes. I'll go, I'll see those things, and I'll come back. But as far as like getting any kind of pleasure or enjoyment out of it, I certainly am not experiencing that right now. I would be surprised if I experience it during the trip. That's not anything that I've felt about anything in recent memory. I don't have anything that gives any kind of joy or excitement or satisfaction. I'm surrounded by things that I've collected that used to give me a lot of joy, but it's hard for me to see them as anything other than things right now. Things that take up space. So I've got a limited amount of funds for a limited amount of time. And I had thought of some passive way to make a little bit of money. And I mean, what I had hit on was suggested by a friend, and that was donating plasma. So that sounded like a good idea. I donate plasma every once in a while, make a little bit. It's not enough to cover my monthly expenses, but with what I have, it certainly would keep me going for a few months more. But I was disqualified for that, not for any medical reason, but simply because I was hospitalized for mental health. Just the fact that I was hospitalized was enough to disqualify me, at least unless and until I got some medical clearance or approval, which I can't realistically do right now. So for all intents and purposes, that's out. Yeah, I think that it's dumb to disqualify somebody for that reason, but, it is what it is. So that's out. So how else can I make money and make ends meet when, I can barely leave the house? YouTube was a source of income for a while on the old Hooded Cobra Commander channel. And at the time, it was not enough to cover my expenses, but it would be close if I were at the height of the Hooded Cobra Commander channel. It would be almost enough to cover my expenses now that I've reduced my expenses as much as I realistically can. But getting back to the Hooded Cobra Commander channel is not going to work for a couple reasons. The first reason being that a practical reason. The things that I need are packed away in such a way that it would be very difficult for me to access them. Everything's a jumble. Everything is crammed in. And yeah, just doing a review of an action figure would require a lot of work just to get the things that need to appear on camera. That's not even doing the review. That's not even the work actually doing the review. It would take a ton of work just to get the stuff to do the review. And the other thing is that I don't have the energy to put that kind of time and effort into a project like that. I even a simple video review requires some editing and some research and preparation, and all of these things that I just don't have in me right now. So that's a downside of having a channel that is centered around physical objects, because those objects require space. And when you don't have as much space, then it's hard to have access to those things. So I thought about um, doing a live stream, because at least that would not require editing, right? It wouldn't require so much preparation. And there are people that I miss. I mean, there are a lot of people that I care about, and I miss talking to them. And I had almost done it on a couple occasions, but the idea of having to interact with people in real time just sends me into a panic. Like, I get dizzy, like thinking like, okay, there are going to be people chatting, people asking me questions, people just there, and I don't think I have that in me either. Even though I genuinely miss a lot of those people, I don't have the capacity to interact with people on that level right now. So what does that leave me with? I mean, it leaves me with this, and this is not monetized in any way, and I never intended for this to be monetized in any way. I guess that's not true. I dabbled with the idea of a Patreon for this channel, but nothing ever really came of that. And speaking of Patreon, like, I shut down the Patreon for the Hooded Cobra Commander channel. I had been neglecting it, and I realized that, hang on, I haven't produced any videos for a while, and I didn't see myself producing any videos for the near future. So what's Patreon doing? It's just taking people's money for nothing. And I don't want to do that. So I stopped it. I shut it down. It's done. So that's out. And I've lived so much of my adult life on YouTube. It's kind of weird. I started out with this little channel that was really only existed to promote a small magazine that I was doing as a political science major in university. And then I decided to do a personal channel, because that magazine, it was fine for a while, but, I moved on. And so actually, that's how this channel got created. And that was fine for a while. But then I went to law school, and I didn't have time for this channel. And then I got, mostly through law school, and through a series of, personal disasters, I decided to take a look at G.I. Joe again, and started collecting that. And I created a channel for that. And then that ran for a few years. So, yeah, a lot of my adult life has been spent on YouTube. But that's not, like, that doesn't save me. I can't do the one thing that I did on YouTube that was successful. And I don't have the energy to make anything else successful. So there's just nothing there. Really, there's nothing. There's no future. There's no career. There's no hobby. There's no pleasure. There's no joy. There's really nothing. And that's just how it is. I'm not trying to create anything. I'm not trying to move in any direction. Will things get better? I don't know. I don't even know what getting better looks like. What does better mean? Would it mean, like, getting another job? That sounds horrible. I mean, I can barely walk out the front door. Does that mean you know, having friends. I do have friends, and I love those friends. But I have a hard time interacting with anybody right now. Does that mean being creative, you know, having creative projects, creating art? Those are always things that were important to me. But I just don't have that capacity. I'm dry. Someone suggested that I draw. A friend suggested that I draw, and I appreciate that suggestion. That's somebody who cares, and I appreciate that person. But I don't have anything to draw. Honestly, if I had a pencil and drawing paper and I sat down to draw something, there's nothing that would come out. I don't have anything. There's nothing. And that is mostly my own doing. I had this stupid idea that life the life that I was living was inauthentic. That I was being somebody else, that I was conforming to what somebody else wanted me to be, and I wasn't being my true self. And I decided I needed to take a risk to live a more authentic life. And so I made choices to move in that direction. And it has been really nothing but a disaster. It's it's not worked out. That I mean, people don't like that. People don't like when you strike out like that, and it's not as rewarding as you would expect it to be. So I don't know. What's the point of this? The point of this is that um, I wanted to express myself. I wanted to say a few things. I wanted to explain what's going on. I wanted to explain what's happening. Um, I wanted to try to work a few things out. For instance, like this idea that I'm taking a trip when the very idea of taking a trip is terrifying. It, like that doesn't fit. Um, yeah, I mean it doesn't make sense probably anywhere outside of my head, but that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, I'm not looking for anything. I'm not looking for sympathy. I mean, I've had friends reach out, and that's nice, but there's this is what it is. This is my life now. This is the end result of the decisions that I've made, and here I am. Anyway, I will try to post more. Um, I would like to document the trip, not really for my own purposes, but just so that other people will have those to look back on. The people that I care about will have those moments recorded. So I'll probably do that. But other than that, I mean, will I post more? I don't know. I can't think of anything to post. I can't think of any videos to make. And now that I've made this one, I'm going to have to really think about whether I really post it or not. What is going to happen is that my finger will hover above the upload button for a while, and it will either land on upload or it won't. And I will probably be as surprised as anyone to see if this is actually uploaded or not. Because honestly, I'm 50-50. I'm talking to a camera right now. I'm talking to my phone, really. But I'm really just talking to myself. Anyway.